You do not need to send Tax Lab a 1099, but you could. My name is Paul Vasquez with Tax Lab, and you need to become an ethical millionaire. Now, Tax Lab is actually an S Corp. And so one of the things that you want to look at when you're thinking about whether or not you need to send out a 1099 is whether or not the company that you hired is incorporated. If they're incorporated, they have a higher standard of reporting that they have to do. And because of that higher standard, the IRS feels like it's just redundancy at that point to require that they also receive the 1099s. If you're incorporated, if you have a C Corp or an S Corp, and you're going out there providing services for people, then you don't necessarily need to get a 1099. Now, somebody can still send us, just like they could still send you a 1099, even if you're incorporated or an S Corp. That's just fine unless the numbers are wrong. So that's one thing to be careful of when getting a 1099 is you want to do your best to verify that the numbers they're reporting as an expense to them was actually income to you. One of the big issues about not sending out the 1099s when you need to is that you have to be able to put it on your tax return that you spent that money if you don't want to get taxed on it. Now, if you're disobeying that rule, it's going to be kind of telling on yourself if you try to write off those expenses but then don't send out the 1099s. So in the end, which lie are you going to probably be doing? You're most likely not going to be claiming the expense. If you're not claiming the expense, you're paying their taxes, which is real nice of you to pay somebody else's taxes like that. But it's not nice of that contractor, that individual, to expect that you pay their taxes for the money that you paid them. You're super nice. Not only did you pay them probably a fair price, but on top of that, you're paying their taxes. I think they're taking advantage of you. Send out that 1099. You'll have to first ask for a W-9, which is just gathering information. If somebody sends you a W-9, just fill it out and send it back. Especially if you are that S Corp, that C Corp, because that puts them on notice that you don't necessarily need to receive a 1099 due to your business status. Now, there is another threshold when determining whether or not you need to send out a 1099, and that's the payment threshold. If you paid somebody $600 or more in 2025, then you should be sending them a 1099. So you kind of have two thresholds. One is the entity, the type of business they are. The next is the payment that you sent them. If they are not incorporated and you paid them $600 or more in 2025, then you're supposed to send them out a 1099. Now, the best thing to do, of course, is to ask for a W-9 before you engage in any type of work with them or they with you, so that way you have everything you need to do your part. And if they are incorporated, it'll say on that form where they're signing and dating that they are giving you a legal document saying that they're incorporated, and then you don't need to give out that 1099. But $600 or more, and you're not going to know that in the beginning of the year. Get those W-9s in so that way during the year when as you pay them, you'll be able to say they've now hit the $600 mark. It's time to send a 1099. Now, in 2026, finally, that amount goes up to $2,000. So that gives us a lot better of a leeway for us small business owners to not be as concerned about paperwork. Once again, it's a good practice to get a W-9 ahead of time. So that way, if it ends up being that, number one, if they're incorporated, you're going to know. Number two, if once again, that you end up paying them over the year the $2,000 or more. You don't have to worry about whether or not you've got that information to file. If you receive a W-9, you have to fill it out or you could face penalties. Starts at like $50, I think, $50, and it could go up to like 20,000. So if you get a W-9, happily fill it out, send it back, get it back into them. And if you get a 1099, congratulations, you now have more power to control how much you are being taxed. Not receiving a 1099 doesn't mean you don't report that income. So you have to report the income either way, but that gives you a little bit more levers in your ability to control your tax situation when you are a sole proprietor, independent contractor, LLC, that's not an S Corp or C Corp. It gives you some options there. If you want to be in a community of people who are trying to ethically save on taxes, go to taxlab.club or lab.tax and click on Tax Lab Club. And you'll be in a community of people sharing their experiences about how they're utilizing the rules correctly to minimize their taxes, increase their wealth generating opportunities. And we're in there to make sure that those conversations don't mislead, or at least there's the voice of reason on some of these is given. So there's a higher probability that those are good advice and not bad advice. So it is a moderated community that way. Well, once again, you don't have to send us a 1099 because we are incorporated. But either way, I wish you guys all the success.